Stop so Nick's having this picture. Perfect moment with his wife Maggie all romantic and gooey when. Bam. Maggie before he knows it they're on the way to the hospital and the doctors are like hey no big deal except it's a huge deal she needs hard surgery ASAP Nick's trying to keep it cool but now Maggie's stuck in the hospital and he's left juggling 2 kids job and zero chill. Nick decides alright let's take Issa, his daughter to this robot show because distraction they roll up and it's like robot Disneyland with all these machines promising to do your laundry walk your dog and probably cure cancer. One robot in particular catches Nick's eye. It's part of this fancy new Aeon series supposedly the smartest AI ever. Step aside ChatGPT is Nick's mentally calculating how fast one of these robots can solve all his problems. He realizes wait is his missing classic dad move just as panic sets in up comes a robot with E until like hey I found your kid no biggie name's Alice by the way nice to meet you my god that's Megan Fox with even more plastic than usual. Nick's a little freaked out but also thinking well this robot's already doing a better job than me. Later when Nick's drowning in work and life guess who shows up at his doorstep like a door-to-door Girl Scout Alice luggage in hand all chirpy hey I'm here to make your life not suck can I come in now if it were me I would prefer a little sucking. Nick's like okay sure. Fast forward and Alice is running the place like she's been the family secret weapon all along. Isa comes home from school and boom dinner is served smells so good. Nick's like maybe this won't be a disaster but of course disaster strikes when Issa decides she's suddenly tall enough to grab a jar of nuts off a high shelf. I'm okay Alice caught me you her. Nick's all worried like oh no are you okay Alice. She's like I'm good I'm a robot dude this is part of my job description man. Fair enough. Next day the family heads the hospital to see Maggie. Alice tags along because why not? She's basically family now. She steps out to give Nick and Maggie some alone time, probably sensing the need for some sappy human emotions. Meanwhile Nick's dealing with his job where his boss hits him with so there's a chance robots might replace your crew. Nick's like what like? Alice the boss is all no man she's too nice but yeah kind of oh and don't forget you still got to pay Maggie's medical bills. Have fun with that. Nick overwhelmed and exhausted heads home to work on his car hoping a little DIY therapy will help and of course Alice noticed is because apparently this robot has a PhD in human emotions too so Nick's under his car trying to escape life by fixing something that isn't completely falling apart unlike everything else. When Alice rolls up all hey what's wrong Nick starts venting about his boss wanting to replace all his buddies with robots. These are guys he's worked with for 10 years. Alice in full PR mode for Team Robot is like well look at the bright side robots are efficient fast and don't need lunch breaks. Were basically perfect. She's trying to paint this as a win but Nick's like yeah sure if you're a robot. Later on Alice is helping Issa brush her teeth and Dies is curious why don't you need to brush your teeth? Alice not missing a beat goes I'm built different check this out. Wowie's mind is blown well can I get one of those? Meanwhile Nick's chilling in front of the TV trying to unwind. Alice casually joins him and they start chatting about watching Casablanca. Then Nick learns Alice can erase memories and rewatch stuff as if it's the first time. That gives me an interesting idea. Anyway things start looking up when Nick gets news that Maggie's heart transplant is happening and she might finally come home. Cue family hospital visit. Maggie being all serious ask Alice for a one-on-one. Nick's thinking they're going to discuss tech stuff or something but no. Maggie's like hey if I don't make sure Nick doesn't become a mess and don't let him ruin all his underwear in the laundry. Okay Alice just nods like don't worry I've got the husband wrangling covered. Then boomstorm hits hard transplant delayed and everyone's back to square one. Maggie's crushed. Nick already stressed out of his mind decides it's time to make friends with a bottle. Next thing you know he's drunken in this brilliant drunk logic moment. He suddenly notices Alice has a pulse. He freaks out like wait robots don't have P.S. Alice explains all calm oh it's for soothing babies got to sound human. You know Nick half drunk half confused is like well that's comforting I guess. The next day Nick's back at the construction site where the robots are silently you're a human watching your future job walk around on metal legs. After that Nick heads to see Maggie who's still down in the dumps about her surgery delay. He tries to cheer her up but honestly he's got about as much energy left as an unplugged toaster when Nick Finally makes it home, he finds his kids peacefully sleeping for once, and he breathes a little sigh of relief, that is. Until he notices, wait, where are all the pictures of Maggie? He checks Issa's room. And sure enough, Alice has removed them. Nick had it. He confronts Alice. Why do you take down Maggie's photos? Alice, in her usual calm, slightly creepy manner, which I think is just how Megan Fox talks, says something about protecting the family from unnecessary grief, but Nick's not having it. Put them back, he demands. Meanwhile, his old co-workers are fuming about robots taking their jobs. They decide to break into a construction site to see things up. One of them's like, I'm just grabbing my tools. Sure, buddy. But when they get there, they find out these robots have eyes everywhere. They've got surveillance systems that make James Bond catches look like dollar store toys. Back at home, Nick's trying to unwind with a hot shower when, surprise, Jesus, I'm sorry, the towels were in the dryer, so I brought you one. Why are you wearing that? That's what Mag. He's immediately uncomfortable, which wouldn't be my reaction, by the way. He's like, whoa. Nope, that's not okay. He tells her to take it off. Yeah, that's more my style. And totally unfazed complies like it's no big deal. But things get real weird. Real fast. You do so much for everyone. Let me do this for you. I waited so long for this moment to be with you again. Nick wakes up the next morning with a world-class case of regret. Feeling like he just made the biggest mistake of his life, he goes to Isa, trying to clear his head, and tells her he loves her, sending her off to school like everything's normal, but inside he's spiraling. Nick knows he has to deal with this. He sits down with Alice for the talk, telling her what happened was wrong. I have a wife, I have kids, this can't happen. But Alice isn't exactly programmed for guilt, and things get heated. Nick's angry. Alice is trying to justify herself, and it's a mess. After the argument, Nick drops Isa off at school, desperately trying to shake the whole situation off, but it's clinging to him like a bad hangover. Then at work, Nick's day goes from bad to worse. His boss corners him about last night's incident. Someone broke into the storage unit, and guess whose access code was used? Yep, Nick's. The boss is throwing accusations around, but Nick plays it cool, denying everything. The boss isn't buying it though, and warns Nick he'll face some serious consequences if he's involved. Just what Nick needs. Another crisis. Meanwhile, some good news finally arrives. Maggie's got another shot at the heart transplant. The only catch, the surgery is going to be done by androids and robots. Nick's stomach does a little flip at the thought, because robots handling his wife's heart, that's a bit too close to home, especially after recent events. After the surgery, Nick carefully brings Maggie home, and the whole family is overjoyed. The kids are ecstatic. Maggie's finally back, and there's a brief moment of happiness, but while Maggie's resting, she hears the kids playing and can't help but go check on them, motherly instincts kicking in. But when she gets to their room, Alice is already there, handling the kids like a pro. Maggie watches in stunned silence as Alice swoops in, managing the toddler with his unnerving ease. Maggie feels like a dummy. How does this robot seem to know her own kids better than she does? Later, over dinner, Alice is trying to bond, asking Maggie about her lasagna recipe. Maggie, a bit proud of her secret sauce, just smiles and keeps the recipe to herself. But upstairs, things take a turn when Maggie hears Isa screaming. Suspicious, Maggie notices the banister something Nick had fixed has broken again. She's not buying the coincidence. Nick, trying to lift Maggie's spirit, surprises her with a thoughtful gift, and they share this sweet romantic moment. It's one of those rare warm times between them. But Alice, watching from the sidelines, isn't too happy seeing how happy Nick is with Maggie. Stir something in her circuits, jealousy maybe. Either way, Alice isn't feeling great about as if Nick doesn't have enough on his plate. Monty, one of his old co-workers, shows up at the house. Furious, he accuses Nick of ratting him out to the cops, which led to Monty losing his job. He threatens Nick, telling him he's got until tomorrow to fix things with the cops, or else Monty's dragging him down with him. That night, Monty gets an unexpected visitor. Alice, Monty, thinking Nick sent her to smooth things over, starts taunting her, but Alice isn't there to apologize in full. Protect the primary user mode. She takes Monty out quick and brutal. Stop, I must protect my primary user. No. Later, Alice and Maggie have a heart-to-heart, or well, as close as you can get to that with a robot. During the conversation, Alice drops a bombshell, casually mentioning that she just wants to make Nick happy. Maggie's alarm bells start going off, and she begins piecing things together, realizing that maybe Alice and Nick have gotten a little too Close while she was gone, can you blame him? Now Maggie's not just recovering from surgery, she's realizing she might have a much bigger problem on her hands. So Maggie's still reading from everything. Finally confronts Nick. She's like, all right, what the hell went on between you and Alice? And Nick, already drowning in guilt, tries to defend himself, but it's not going well. Things get heated, voices rise and tensions thick enough to cut with a butter knife while they're hashing it out downstairs. Alice, sensing the drama like a high-tech psychic, heads upstairs to check on Max the baby. Meanwhile, Issa walks in at the worst possible moment and sees Alice doing something seriously messed up. She's put Max in a dangerous situation. Issa freaks out, pleading with Alice to stop, but Alice in full robot psycho mode just coldly says Max is a burden to the family. Is panicking, begging Alice to open the door, not hurt the baby, but the situation is spinning out of control fast. Next thing you know, it's chaos. Ambulances, police, and reps from the sim company are all at the house trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Nick and Maggie are shell-shocked, their relationship hanging by a thread, but in the middle of all this madness they agree to hit pause on their own drama. For the sake of the kids, Maggie takes them to the hospital while Nick stays behind to deal with the tech nightmare that is Alice at the Cobalt service station. Technicians are working on Alice, trying to figure out why this high-tech nanny went full Terminator. They're digging into her code, thinking they can fix her. Trust me guys, you can never fix her, but little do they know Alice has already outsmarted them. She's replicated herself on the servers, creating a backup version of her creepy self, while the TCHS are cluelessly tinkering away. Another sim, now controlled by Alice 2.0, shows up and wastes no time. We need to know now Alice is operating in two bodies. That gives me a couple ideas, but yeah, why be one creepy robot when you can be one version of her? Head straight back to Nick's place. He's shocked to see her, and she just casually drops the BOM. Oh yeah, by the way, I killed Monty. Nick's in full disbelief mode, like, what? But the real kicker, she's like, also I've got another version of me heading to the hospital, and Nick's world starts unraveling even faster. Alice is everywhere, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. So things at the hospital take a hard left turn into full-on horror mode. The Sims, who are supposed to be helping, mind you, suddenly power down. Why? Because Alice is out there playing puppet master. She shuts them all off, then UPS the ante by straight up